I was hired to sit in a chair. That's it. Just sit, from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., in front of a security monitor on the 9th floor of an old apartment building downtown. No cameras, no footage, just a screen that stares back. Every night, I follow it. List of strange, terrifying rules. Rule number 3. If you hear crying in room 909, do not knock. The one who answers is not the one who cried that I thought this job was a joke. But last night, I broke rule number 6. Now, something is watching me from the hallway, and it looks just like me. The flyer said, Night Watch position, floor 9, low stress. Room, meals, and pay provided. I needed the money. That's how every horror story starts, right? But when you're 3 months behind on rent, your phone's shut off, and your roommate moves out with your half of the lease, you stop asking questions. You see a poster stapled to a light pole on a sketchy block downtown, and suddenly, that voice in your head whispering, "This feels wrong," gets drowned out by your growling stomach. The building looked like it hadn't been touched since the Cold War. A gray slab of brutalist architecture tucked between 2 glass high-rises like a rotting tooth in a mouth full of veneers. No front desk, no lobby music, just a single elevator with a cracked mirror and sticky buttons that moaned with every floor it passed. Floor 9. I stepped out and smelled old water, plastic, and something sweet rotting. The hallway was dimly lit, the kind of light that flickered, even though there was no draft. And there, taped to the wall across from the elevator, was a list. Not typed, handwritten, all caps, red marker, like a teacher grading your test in blood. Strange rules for the night watcher. Floor 9. Sit in the chair facing the hallway. Do not move it. Do not speak to anyone on this floor unless they say the phrase, "Red skies in the morning." If you hear crying from room 909, do not investigate. They want you to open the door. At 1:11 a.m. sharp, knock once on the door of room 906. Say, "I'm still here." Wait for the knock back. If room 903 opens on its own, close your eyes and count to 17. Do not breathe loud. Under no circumstances should you look at the mirror at the end of the hall between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. If the lights go out, count to 5, then begin humming a lullaby. It doesn't matter which one. You must leave exactly at 6 a.m. Do not stay to talk. Do not answer calls from unknown numbers after shift. If you survive the week, your pay will be wired. Ask no questions. If you see your double, run. I laughed. Actually laughed. Whoever put this up had a sick sense of humor. I was convinced. It was some kind of haunted house promo, or maybe an indie film shoot trying to go viral. The pay was real though. I stepped into room 900, the watcher's room. It was small, just a desk facing the hallway, a metal folding chair, and a boxy landline phone with no cord. No bed, no bathroom, just a thermos of water, a bowl of boiled eggs, and the faint scent of Vicks VapoRub. A single bulb in the ceiling. Cast long, sickly shadows. I Saturday 8:01 p.m. My first night on the job. And then, nothing. Nothing for hours. Just silence. Around 12:43 a.m., the hallway light near room 909 flickered. Then I heard it, crying. Thin, wavering, like a child. Or a woman. Something broken and trembling behind the wall. Rule number 3 came flooding back. If you hear crying from room 909, do not investigate. They want you to open the door. That word hung in the air like smoke. I swallowed hard and stayed seated. My back rigid against the chair, eyes fixed on the hallway. It was probably just the pipes, or a prank, or my mind filling in blanks. Then the crying stopped, silence again. But now it felt dense, like the air had weight to it. I remember thinking, this is too quiet. You ever hear a silence so loud it starts to scream? 1:11 a.m. I stood. My knees cracked like dry twigs. I walked to room 906 and knocked. Once. "I'm still here," I whispered. I waited. Nothing. And then, knock. From inside. I didn't even breathe. Just turned slowly and walked back to my seat. 2:03 a.m. The mirror. I'd forgotten it was even there. A long stretch of metal and glass, fogged over with age. At the end of the hallway, near the emergency exit, I felt something pull me toward it. A subtle pressure in the spine, like gravity, but horizontal. Rule number 6 screamed in my mind. Do not look at the mirror between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. I tried to look away, but the mirror shifted, not physically. I mean the angle, like it adjusted to face me. Or maybe I just moved without realizing that I stared at it, and then I saw me. Except, it wasn't my reflection was smiling that I wasn't, that it waved that I didn't, that I blinked. The mirror was normal again. But I wasn't sure if it ever had been, that I don't know when I fell asleep. But I woke to the sound of the elevator dinging 06:00 a.m. The hallway bathed in morning gray. Dust motes floating like ash. I stood, legs trembling, and walked past each door slowly. 903, 906, 909, all shut. All still. I didn't see anyone. But I felt like someone was watching. Back in the elevator, I saw my face in the cracked mirror. Pale, sweaty. My eyes didn't look like mine anymore. The moment I stepped outside the building, I felt lighter. Then, my phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. You did well. See you tonight. Attached was a PayPal notification, $500 for one night, and I had 6 more to go. The next night, I arrived 5 minutes early. I stood in front of the building again, this decaying concrete tomb, and stared up at the black windows of the 9th floor. There were no lights on, yet I had the uncomfortable feeling that something behind that glass was already staring down at me, watching, waiting. My legs didn't want to move, but my bank account did. $500 for one night. That's $3,500 in a week, and all I had to do was sit. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. The elevator groaned like it remembered me. The cracked mirror in the corner had deepened, and for a split second, as the doors closed, I thought I saw a second silhouette beside mine. But I was alone. Right? Ding. 9th floor. I stepped out, and the hallway was darker than yesterday. The air thicker. The smell of rot more pronounced. But this time it wasn't sweet. It was sharp, metallic, like blood and iron left to rust. The chair was still there, waiting, facing the hallway. The old thermos of water had been replaced with a fresh one. New eggs too. Everything set up like a stage play from the night before. And the rules were gone. The red markered list had been torn from the wall. Only fragments remained, fluttering like peeling skin. I froze. That list was the only thing guiding me through last night's madness. Now, I was blind. That's when I saw it. A single new note, slipped under the chair. Tonight's addendum, memorize it. Rule number 3 and number 6 are now permanent. Disobedience will be punished. The crying from room 909 may occur earlier now. Do not speak to it. If room 903 opens by itself tonight, enter it. Sit on the edge of the bed. Wait. If the phone rings and you hear static, do not hang up. Let it finish. Avoid mirrors. Any reflections moving out of sync will draw them to you. If the man with the paper mask appears, you must not blink. You are being watched. Do not pretend this is a game. I read it twice. Then, a third time. My hands were already slick with sweat, the paper trembling between my fingers. Who the hell is the man with the paper mask? And more importantly, what happens if I blink? 8:47 p.m. Nothing. Silence again. But not the peaceful kind. This was the kind of quiet that made you hear your heartbeat in your ears. Made the old pipes groan in the walls like something crawled through them. I tapped my foot. Counted tiles. I even peeled one of the eggs and took a bite. It tasted off, rubbery and oddly warm, like it had been sitting out for days. I spit it into a napkin and tossed it behind me. And then, click, the doorknob on room 903 turned. The door creaked open, just a few inches. I froze. If room 903 opens by itself tonight, enter it. Sit on the edge of the bed. Wait. The new rule echoed in my head. Every instinct I had screamed, don't go near it. But the longer I stared at that slightly open door, the more it felt like something was waiting inside for me to step in. I rose slowly. My footsteps on the linoleum sounded thunderous in the empty hallway. I reached the door. The brass number 903 was smudged with fingerprints. Old ones. Like dozens of hands had pressed against it in desperation. Or tried to claw their way out. I pushed the door open. Darkness, no light inside. No sound. I stepped in. The room was identical to the watcher's room. Small, square, and windowless. But this one had a bed, old, unmade, covered in pale yellow sheets that looked damp and smelled of mildew and ammonia. I sat on the edge, and I waited. A minute passed. Then 2.5. I almost laughed. Almost. Then something sat next to me. I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. But the mattress shifted, sunk down slightly on my left, as if another weight had suddenly appeared beside me. I didn't look I didn't move, I just whispered, "What the F asterisk asterisk asterisk?" Then I smelled it. Burnt hair. Wet leather. Ash. Something leaned in close. Close enough that I could feel the heat of its breath on my neck. And then it spoke, but not in words. Not exactly. It was like a recording played backward. Fast and low, mechanical and animal at once. And even though I didn't understand it, my body did. My eyes teared up. My stomach churned. My hands began to tremble like I was freezing. Whatever it said wasn't meant for me. It was older, deeper. The bed shifted again. The presence moved away. Then, the door slammed shut. I was locked in. I stood up too fast. The room spun. I reached for the doorknob, heart pounding in my throat. It wouldn't budge. Then the lights flickered, and the mirror across from the bed illuminated on its own. I wasn't alone. There were now 3 reflections. Me. Something tall behind me, and something crawling upside down on the ceiling. I turned around. Nothing. I looked back at the mirror. The tall figure was now waving. I blinked, and it was gone. The door opened on its own. I didn't wait. I ran out into the hallway, nearly tripping over my own feet. My chair was still facing the hallway, the thermos untouched, but the air now felt colder. And then the phone rang, that old rotary phone with no cord. Its ring sharp and shrill like a dentist's drill in my ear. I stared at it. I remembered the rule. If the phone rings and you hear static, do not hang up. Let it finish. I lifted the receiver. Static, loud, crackling, harsh, like a storm had filled my ears. I waited 30 seconds. Then a minute. The static faded and a voice whispered, "You're doing well, watcher. But you looked, didn't you?" Click. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. The hallway lights dimmed again. And this time, I wasn't alone. 2:59 a.m. The mirror at the end of the hallway was completely black now. Like someone had replaced the glass with obsidian. I could see my reflection walking toward me. But I wasn't moving. It was smiling again. Blood leaking from its eyes. The reflection stopped just before the glass, and then raised its hand. So did I. Then it moved its hand downward, while mine stayed up. It wasn't copying me anymore. I turned and ran. Back in my watcher's chair, I sat, knees shaking, as I tried to control my breath, and that's when I saw him. At the end of the hallway, the man with the paper mask, tall, emaciated, wearing a white mask torn from a paper grocery bag, slits cut where his eyes should be. But there was nothing behind them. No eyes, no soul. Just empty darkness. He began walking toward me, slow, deliberate. I remembered the rule. If the man with the paper mask appears, do not blink. My eyes burned. Instantly. Every instinct told me to look away, but I stared, unmoving, tears streaming down my face. The closer he came, the louder the hallway hummed. Like static filling my head, he stopped 3 feet in front of me. And then he leaned down, until his eyeless holes were inches from mine. And in a voice that wasn't a voice, he whispered, "You blinked." I woke up on the floor, blood from my nose. A note on my chest. 3 nights remain. Don't disappoint us again. My phone buzzed. $7.50 deposited. A price increase. But the cost wasn't money. Not anymore. I left the building with shaky legs and hollow eyes. And behind me, on the 9th floor, something watched from the window. The 3rd night, I didn't want to go back. You'd think the money would be enough to override that gnawing fear. But something changed in me after night 2. I felt it in my bones, in my dreams, in the way reflections lingered too long, and shadows stayed even after the light was gone. The fear wasn't just in the building anymore. It followed me home. I saw it in the corner of my eye while brushing my teeth. Heard it under my bed at 3:06 a.m., scraping, whispering, and when I blinked too long, I swore I saw the man with the paper mask staring from inside my pupils. But still, I returned. The building doesn't just want watchers. It needs them. 7:58 p.m. Night 3. This time, the elevator doors opened before I pressed the button. The 9th floor was darker than ever. The hallway lights weren't flickering. They were just off. A dim red emergency bulb at the far end cast the walls in blood-colored tones. It made everything look melted, distorted, like the hallway had been stretched. I approached the watcher's chair, and it was already facing the hallway. Something was sitting in it. For a breathless second, I saw me, sitting, motionless, but the figure blinked out when I turned on my phone flashlight. Gone. A hallucination? Or a warning? I sat down slowly. The thermos was ice cold tonight, and inside the lid was a new slip of paper, tightly folded. Tonight's update. Pay attention. New rule added. If you hear 3 knocks on your door, wait 10 minutes before opening. If you hear 4, don't breathe. At exactly 2:13 a.m., room 908 will open. You must not enter. Place your right shoe in the doorway and return to your seat. Do not check if it disappears. Whistling may occur in the air vents. You are forbidden from repeating the melody. They will know. If your nose starts to bleed at any time, it means you're being remembered. Do not, under any circumstances, follow the sound of your mother's voice. She is not here. And finally, if you see hands crawl out of the walls tonight, they're not coming for you. They're dragging something back in. Do not help at 8:22 p.m. The walls behind me began to tick, like a grandfather clock buried in drywall. Faint, yet rhythmic. Tick, tick, tick. And then the scratching started. At first, it was light, like mice, but soon it became urgent. Claws on plaster, nails on metal. SKKRRKKK, SSHHK, KKKRRKKK. The sound moved behind the wall, traveling from room 905 to room 907 in a steady line, like something crawling within the walls. I pressed my back into the chair. The air grew hot, and then it spoke. A whisper from inside the wall, pressed so close I could feel the vibration in my spine. Hey, watcher, we remember you now. My breath caught in my throat. You didn't close your eyes last time. Good, but you looked away. The whisper was like a knife sliding into my ear, soft and sharp at the same time. We forgive you, but the others don't. The wall trembled, and then a hand burst through the plaster. Long, gray, with knuckles bent the wrong way. It clawed through like a drowning man reaching for air, but it wasn't grabbing outward. It was pulling something back in. Another arm, thinner, smaller, human. A girl's hand. She screamed once. Then the wall closed back up like nothing ever broke it. All that was left was a fine line of cracked drywall dust across the floor and a trail of fingernail scratches. 1:44 a.m. 3 knocks on the watcher's door. Not the hallway. My door knock. Knock. Knocked. I stared at the handle. It jiggled once. My heart pounded so loud I thought I would vomit. 10 minutes. The rule said to wait 10 minutes. I watched the minute hand tick. Slow. Deliberate. 0.7 minutes past. 8.9. On minute 10, I gripped the handle, twisted, and yanked the door open. Nothing. Just the hallway. Still dim. Still quiet. But a note lay on the floor, slipped under the door, written in the same red marker from the original rule list. You opened the door. We were watching. One more infraction equals entry. Entry equals consumption. Entry, consumption? What the hell did that mean? I stepped back inside and locked the door, heart racing. 2:12 a.m. I stood by room 908, holding my right shoe in one hand. 1 minute to go. The door was plain, untouched, but the light above it was flickering. 2:13 a.m. The door opened, quietly, just enough for darkness to spill out. No sound. No movement. I placed my shoe in the doorway and backed away. Do not look inside. Do not check if it disappears. I sat in the chair again, but I couldn't help it. I peeked. Just once. The shoe was gone, and so was the doorway. Room 908's door was now bricked shut, like it never existed. 2:27 a.m. Whistling in the vents, soft, melodic. A lullaby. I recognized it. My mother used to hum that when I was a child. My mouth moved before I could stop it. Just one note. The vent above the chair rattled, and then something slammed into it. Hard. The metal grill bent outward. I dropped to the floor as a hand burst through, fingers charred, covered in ash. Then a face pressed into the vent, mouth gaping open. No eyes, teeth like glass shards. You sung. It hissed. I crawled backward, hard in my throat. The vent sealed itself with a snap. The metal snapped back into place, and the whistling stopped. 3:44 a.m. Blood from my nose. A slow, thick trickle. I didn't feel dizzy. I felt. Watched. Remembered. They were beginning to know me. Toc past the watcher. They wanted what was beneath the skin. 4:02 a.m. Something walked past the hallway, but I didn't see its feet. Just a long shadow, dragging a tail, leaving a trail of blood. From room 909 all the way to the elevator. I heard the crying again. Louder this time. Closer. From behind the walls. I closed my eyes and counted backward from 50. When I opened them, the hallway was full of hands, dozens of them. Pale, gray, twitching fingers crawling out of the wallpaper, through the cracks in the floor, from under the doors. Some were dragging a shape behind them. A body. Or something pretending to be one. It moved like it had too many joints. It whispered like it had too many tongues. That I watched as they pulled it back into the wall. Its face locked with mine for a split second. It looked like me, screaming, mouthing the words, "Don't let them take me again." And then, gone. 6:00 a.m. The hallway lit up like normal, clean, empty. The watcher's chair was now white instead of gray, freshly painted. Or maybe, not the same chair at all. My phone buzzed. $900 deposited. A new message. One final night. Come, prepared. We're almost inside you. I walked out of the building and into the sunrise. Birds chirping, people jogging. Normalcy all around me. But I knew the truth now. Something in that building wasn't just haunting me. It was learning me, shaping me. And if I came back tomorrow, it might finally take my place. The final night begins at 7:06 p.m. Be seated by 7:11 p.m. No later. You are no longer watching for them. They are now watching for you. Final instructions. Slip July 4th, night 4. The final watch begins. When I woke up that morning, I knew I wasn't alone. There was something in the apartment with me. My bedroom mirror had fogged from the inside, even though I hadn't showered. The food in my fridge was all spoiled. My phone camera refused to show my face. Only static when I turned it toward myself. And taped to the front of my door was a new envelope. No postage. Just a wax seal pressed with the number 9. Inside was a single red card. Watcher, tonight is the last transition. Be seated by 7:11 p.m. If you're late, you won't leave. Do not bring personal items. Do not pray the watcher before you failed. You cannot. I burned the card in the sink. It screamed as it turned to ash. 6:55 p.m. I stood outside the building. One last time. The sun had dipped low, casting the apartment's concrete facade in blood orange shadow. The windows on floor 9 were all open now. Curtains fluttered gently, but I swear I saw fingers wrapped around the sills. There was no turning back. I stepped inside. The elevator doors were already open, waiting. And this time, there were no buttons, just one. 9. I pressed it. The lights flickered violently as the elevator rose. Something groaned within the shaft, like bones grinding together. When the doors opened, I knew instantly. This was not the same floor 9. The hallway was warped. It stretched like a funhouse mirror, wider and longer than it ever had been. The walls pulsed softly, like breathing flesh. And the scent, formaldehyde, mold, blood, burnt wood. I stepped out, and the elevator doors vanished behind me. Not closed. Gone. In their place was another mirror. Not just any mirror. My reflection, stuck in it, banging to get out. It screamed silently, pounding its fists, mouthing the word, "Run." I walked backward, heart pounding, until I reached the watcher's chair. It had changed again. Now it was a stone throne, cold to the touch, with chains hanging from each side. A blood-red spotlight above it illuminated a new message scrawled across the wall behind it. The watcher becomes the watched. Saturday the walls groaned around me. Suddenly, every door in the hallway opened at once, not swung open, snapped open like trapdoors, and the air filled with whispers. Thousands of them. Some pleaded for help. Others screamed curses. One said, "He's next. He's next. He's next." And then I heard my own voice, whispering from room 909. "Help me. Please. Help me. I didn't want this." I stood, walked slowly to the open door of room 909. Inside was a swirling black fog, a smell like burnt teeth. And in the center, tied to a wooden chair, was me. My face. My clothes, but hollowed out. Eyes gone. Jaw shattered. It looked up and begged, "You have to finish it before it takes root. Before you're no longer you." Then it convulsed, let out a horrific wail, and sank into the floor like wet clay. 7:11 p.m. The hallway began to melt. That's the only way I can describe it. The floor curled upward. The ceiling dripped. The wallpaper began to peel itself like skin, revealing a massive eye behind the wall, rotating. Blinking, watching, every door slammed shut, and then Rule 0 appeared, etched in blood across the floor beneath my feet. Do not finish your shift. Too late that I was already in the chair, bound. The chain snapped closed around my wrists and ankles. My voice disappeared that I was part of it now. 8:23 p.m. The hallway fell silent, and that's when the figure came walking toward me, slow, deliberate. It wore my face, walked like me, but it was smiling. You've done well, it said. You sat. You watched. You obeyed mostly. Its face began to peel, skin unraveling like paper. Underneath, no features, just moving mouths, all whispering. We are coming through. I tried to scream, couldn't. It stepped behind me and whispered into my ear. It's your turn to be the hallway. And then it entered me, not physically, through my eyes, through my breath, like smoke and liquid pouring in through every pore of my skin. I felt my mind stretch, break, bend, until I was inside the walls. That I was no longer sitting in the hallway. I was the hallway. I felt every footstep, heard every breath. The doors opened and closed with my will, and I knew I was the next one to watch. The last 1:9:00 p.m. The elevator dinged. A new figure stepped out, confused, looking around. He was young, desperate, holding a flyer that read, "Night watch position, floor 9. Low stress, room, meals, and pay provided." I watched him from all angles at once. That he is the new one. And I am now the whisper behind the wall, the reflection that doesn't blink, the fingers in the vent, the blood behind the mirror. I was the watcher. Now, I am the watched. And soon, so will you. END, red circle bonus. The rules, final compilation. ***, drop of blood. These rules appear scratched into the wall after the transformation of the narrator. Always arrive before 7:11 p.m. Never look into mirrors that reflect too much. If the crying gets louder, cover your ears. Don't follow voices that sound like family. When the hallway turns red, don't blink. If you ever feel yourself becoming heavy, you're being absorbed. Never finish your shift. If you see someone who looks like you, kill them first. Don't ask who wrote the rules. There is no leaving once you've been remembered.